Welcome everyone to the Run 51 official launch. I am so thrilled that you are joining us today, whether you're watching us from Facebook or you're watching us on YouTube. I'm so excited to have you be a part of what I hope will turn out to be a historic day for our country. And that is my little today she's 11 weeks, my little 11-week-old baby in the background. And that is motherhood and life and work and all the fun things. And now she is gone. So I'm super psyched for Run 51. I'm Erin Velarde. I'm the founder of Vote Run Lead, and we are on a mission to make the Statehouse her house. We have launched Run 51. I don't want to just tell you about it. I want to show you what we're planning on doing. So I'm going to share my screen. We have an amazing initiative with Run 51, making the State House her house. We know that today you're not just going to hear it from me, you're going to hear it from amazing women, including Park Cannon, District 58 in Georgia, Senator Patricia Torres is with us from Minnesota, and Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, an assembly member in New York. Now, all three of these women have run for the State House and won. All three of these women are Vote Run Lead alumni, and they're here to inspire you and to help you. Also part of today, you're going to get the tools and the tips of what it's going to take to run for your state legislature. You're going to hear from our co-founder, Rhonda Briggins, at the end of the program to inspire you. And of course, you're going to hear from the fabulous Pak Hu Hang, our chief program officer, and meet the new team at Vote Run Lead, who is going to help you make your run and your win for your state senate or your state house. Now, we know we have a problem. We have identified a key problem. 51% of the population are women, but we're at about 31% of our state legislators. And it'll take us about 60 years if we're going to actually run and win at the current rate. Now, that's different for every state. And I'm so excited to show you a brand new research tool that we're unveiling today as part of the launch of Run 51. So let me pause and go over to our homepage. Now, we looked at all 50 states. We said, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get to 51%? Can we do it? Is this possible? And in order to know if something is possible, if you can make that move, you have to actually know the floor. You have to know the foundation. So we've done the work for you. We're going to show you what this looks like. So it's been about 50 years that women have been in the State House. Now, after 50 years, only a single state has women in the majority. We're going to show you the gender composition in state houses all across America. Many of you know that state is Nevada. They're at 60% women's representation. It's phenomenal. It's a model we should be replicating. The rest, men are in the majority. The US average, as I said, is only 31%. At the current pace, it's going to take us generations to make this possible. Generations. But we know that we can actually accelerate that pace. We have a plan in the next decade through Run 51 to get 51% of women into America's state legislatures. How do we accelerate that? How do we shorten that timeline? That's what you're going to hear about today. And we're actually starting with 3 states, New York, Georgia, and Minnesota. And Pak Hu is going to talk to you about how we're making deep and targeted investments in those states. What would it mean if we, in 2 election cycles, went from roughly 30% to 51%? Now, our surefire strategy is going to do this. We've got the resources to make it happen in these 3 states, and we're creating a playbook, which we're also going to talk more about. But let's look at how long it's going to take your state based on the current trends. This is the fun part of this, and I want you to use this tool. Take a look at South Carolina. They're currently at 17.6% women in their legislature. It's going to take 113 years to get a reflective democracy. Utah, 23%, 83 years to get a reflective democracy. Now, when you scroll down, you're going to see a lot of our southern states, 82 years, 108 years for Alabama. We also have other states that are getting close, like Colorado, We may be able to do this in a decade. We may be looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 states in the next couple of years that are really getting close to 51%. So play along. Find where your state is, use that research, use this graph, share it on your social media pages, help us amplify what it's going to take, and start to think about your run for the state house, because it only accelerates if you're running for office and you're winning. So don't take my word for it. We have some amazing women today who are going to talk to us about what it took for them to decide to run for the state legislature, and how they are making an impact in the world through their roles as assembly members and as state senators in both New York and Minnesota. So can we welcome onto the screen Assembly Member Jessica Gonzalez Rojas from New York and State Senator Patricia Torres from Minnesota. I'm so excited to have both of you with me today for the launch.
Yay.
Yes. So I just, we're excited about this little nerdy tool. I feel like if you're watching us, folks, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on this beautiful day in New York, or this beautiful day I know in Minnesota, you are a politics nerd, right? And so you love that chart, you love that graph. And for me, to look at some of the states and how long it is going to take, and to know that in different places we're really struggling. Some places we're making progress, some places we're not. Mm-hmm. And, both Minnesota, New York, and Georgia, our third bellwether state, you're all roughly about between 30 and 35%, mm-hmm. which, research tells us used to be called critical mass, right? That used to be that turning point when a third of a new group of people got into a power body, that things began to change. Now, we know that when a single remarkable woman gets into the legislature, things begin to change. Yes. Both of you are a testament to that. So I want to start my first question to you. Just tell us who you are, who you represent, and why you decided to run for the legislature. And I'm going to start with you, Assemblymember Gonzalez Rojas.
I'm a mom, so say hello. I'm here being a mom. My family's stepping out for something. So my name is Jessica Gonzalez Rojas. I use she, her, pronouns. I'm so proud to be amongst the newest members of the New York State Assembly. In last year, we sort of took the state by storm, and 19 new Democrats got elected to the state. To the Statehouse, and it was a big deal because many of us took out very long-term incumbents, and I consider myself a progressive activist. I represent a district in 34 in Western Queens. I represent the neighborhoods of Jackson Heights, East Elmhurst, Corona, and Woodside. For anyone tuning in from New York, it is one of the most diverse districts in New York. It is one of the most diverse districts in the United States, and I would argue it's probably one of the most diverse districts in the world. We speak nearly 200 languages. That's we right. are 62% immigrant. We are nearly 60% Latinx, 27% Asian from all Asian countries. And I'm just so proud to have won this race last year and, finally have representation that reflects both the values and the diversity of our district.
And can you tell me why the state legislature? Why the assembly seat, right? Because city council races are happening in New York City right now. Yes. And the city is as big as some small countries, right? Yes. So why that particular seat for you?
And real talk, city council members make more money than state assembly members and state senators, and they actually get more resources. So they have more resources to distribute to the community and make impact in the community. However, I come to this work as an activist, and I've been doing work across the country on issues related to reproductive health rights and justice, and specifically for Latinas and immigrant women in the state, across the country. And it's really the states that really begin to shift. And you mentioned earlier, Erin, like a tipping point. Right. And when you think about something like equal marriage, right? Where LGBT community members can get married and live their lives in love with dignity. It wasn't the federal level, it wasn't the city level, it was the states. And when you had one state after another state after another state, they became a tipping point in which by which the country really had to honor the dignity and respect of our LGBTQ community by allowing them to marry. So I see that, I see the states as really, like you said, a bellwether of change. And if we are able to fight for things on a state level that impact every single member of the state, right, and work across, different state houses. I know Senator Torres for many, many years through her work in reproductive justice and as a state senator. And it's really wonderful to also see how states are approaching different work. I mean, we all have very different communities, but, there's a lot of issues that we care about in which we could share strategies and really think about how to, impact the work nationwide. Taking on the issue state by state by state. So it's a really exciting space to be. And, next week is my last week of the session. So it's a very powerful time to see what we can get done this last week of session. So super exciting moment for me.
I love that you said that around marriage equality, right? State by state by state. So, and you're brand new. We're going to talk about some of the things you've been able to do in your first legislative session. But I probably, and I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but probably my favorite state senator in all of the world is Senator Patricia Torres, and she's an old G. She, she's not new to this game. She has been reelected by her community in Minnesota, I think 9 times. We're losing count. And because, you do such fantastic work, but if you can remember, what that inclination for you was, about why you decided to run for the state Senate, which so few women, when we look at this, the numbers are so few in the state Senate, and tell us a little bit about the community that you represent.
Well, thank you. Thank you. This is an honor. I am so happy to be here with Jessica. I ran really out of frustration. People are so frustrated with what is happening in government today. And the reality that is for me, in Senate District 63, which is a very, really liberal district. It's a 67% Democratic district, very diverse, but also the people who are here are very engaged in policy process. They are nerds. A lot of people, teach at the university. They work in public service. They work for the state. They work for the county. So this is a very engaged community. And I ran in 2006, and I was so non-political. I was just really out of these political, universes that are recognized. My name was not recognized. They didn't know who I was. I was a state employee. And I think my story resonated here because this is a progressive district, and people really, when they began to learn about my story, they learned that I was an immigrant, that I have worked on behalf of children and addressing disparities and inequities. They really love my story. I really believe in that my story was what opened the doors here and opened, the hearts of people. And so I told my story, my speech when I got endorsed, because, in Minneapolis, really in the past, not now, but when I was elected, the endorsement of the Democratic Party, or in general, endorsements of the parties were a big deal. Now it's a little bit more complicated. Now they look at the person really and the history in a different way. The party affiliation is important, of course, because this is a very Democratic district, but is not as important as it used to be, 16 years ago. So people are more open, to elect independents, Green Party, and other people. But that really, for me, was the most important thing, to tell my story in a very transparent way, to tell people who I was as a mother, as an immigrant, my story as a policy person who really was interested in opening doors for predominantly women of color and advocating for children. So I feel that continues to be a very important issue in politics, that sometimes women of color kind of shy away from their stories because they don't think that their stories really are important, that those are not qualifications that we can bring. But I think that is wrong. I do believe that these experiences that we bring, these life experiences that we bring, are incredibly important, and they resonate with many communities. So that's a little bit of my story.
So both of you speak a lot and have hit on this representation of women of color. We know that it's something like 7% of the state legislators. It's very small when it comes to that 31% number. We've got a long way to go for a reflective democracy around women of color representation. Patricia Torres, you're a first. I think you're also a first Latina to hold this seat. The significance of that? Talk a little bit about what you've been able to do, Senator Torres for, I know you guys know each other from other networks, right? It's too small of a world around Latinas in public office. How do we get more? Let's talk specifically to Latinas. How do we get more of them to consider running and to consider this office?
Running as a first Latina, and now there are 2 Latinas in the Minnesota Senate, in the entire legislature, that's just 2 Latinas, Puerto Rican and myself. It's really an honor, an opportunity to talk about our stories. I think we focus a lot on policies that affect our communities, of course, because we live in these communities, so we understand them. And we bring those stories and those experiences and those connections to the legislature. And I think that's, a given. Everyone does that. So we have this great opportunity to bring those voices, to bring those experiences. What is challenging for us is that we become the senators for everyone, right? Yeah. So I have 66 senators and 66 districts that oftentimes people Latino who live in those districts come to my office first. And they don't know anybody else, but they know Senator Torres, right? And I speak their language and I know their story. So they stop in my office first. And so that demands that our staff, our knowledge, our ability to really welcome and bring those stories to the senators that represent them, that many, many times just are clueless about those stories, are clueless about the existence really of those communities in their districts. And they have a notion of these individuals, of this community. So many times I find, some of my peers say, well, you're so religious, you're so nice, you bring the kids to church. Some of my Republican members value that. So to me, that's an entry to a conversation that is much bigger than that, right? That is not just about our religious background. And so it's an opportunity, but it's also hard work. It's an opportunity to be that voice, to bring that connection, but oftentimes it's both, in the community to say, okay, no, you need to know you're your senator. I am your senator, but really I don't represent you. Right. He or she is your senator. So let's get to know this person. So there's some reluctance in there, and sometimes in the other side, there is reluctance to connect with this community, to go there, to engage communities, because these are, in Minnesota, the percentage is very small. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity for us to be connected, to bring those stories, but at the same time, it requires a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of, energy, and even for our staff to be able to really respond. And we feel this opportunity is something that we don't want to let go. Exactly. Right? It's like, no, we have a community in rural Minnesota that is really asking for this engagement, this opportunity. We don't want to let go. That's right. And so that is really a wonderful, place to be in, and many times a challenging one too.
Yeah. And I love that honest assessment. And I think our viewers are, they know that is an honest assessment, right? When women of color in leadership, you have to bridge so much, and it takes so much of that energy to do it. But you're right. I do think you talk about it as an honor and an opportunity, and I know folks are glad you're there, right? And how do we solve for that? We get more women like Jessica running for office for the first time. And I know we chatted last week. You had just been on the floor. You were. Tell us about what it's been like, for you in the New York State Assembly for this first year.
It's been incredible. It's funny. I had a reporter who reached out to me a couple days ago, and I met them outside the chamber, and they said, there's a group of new members who are very vocal, and you're one of them. And I said, I come to this work as an activist and an advocate. And, I didn't run for office to be a politician per se. I came to office to create systemic change. And I've spent my career in the nonprofit sector working on policy advocacy on issues that I care deeply about. I've worked on issues ranging from disability justice to higher education to early childhood education. In the last 13 years, I was running a nonprofit called the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Justice, where we were able to fight for, health, dignity, and reproductive justice for communities who are often left behind and marginalized, immigrant women who may not speak the language or may not have, health insurance. But my work has always been about centering the people who have been most marginalized and elevating their voices. And I love being an advocate. Like, I really love it. I actually really miss it. But I have now an opportunity to be an advocate from a different perch, right? And actually fight and work with the advocates out in the community to elevate their voices and tell their stories. So one thing that's been really impactful for me is that, with COVID, the things have changed quite a bit with doing a lot of our sessions, legislative sessions by Zoom. Right. You can go to the chamber if you want to, and that's like a 3-hour drive north for me. But for really impactful votes, I made sure I headed up to Albany to be there. But every time I spoke on the floor, I always shared a story. I always brought someone's voice alongside alongside me, because I always felt it was important to humanize what we were trying to do. We don't just pass policies in a vacuum. We pass policies to impact people's lives. And storytelling has been very impactful in my work as an advocate. And now as an advocate on the inside, as a elected advocate, I feel really
right. To write the laws. Yeah, right.
To bring those voices. So we're seen as kind of very assertive, and that's why we're here. And the day I don't become assertive or stop fighting is the day that someone else should take the reign in my community. So that's what I'm here to do. And it's been a whirlwind of a 5-month period. We're not even done with the first session yet. I have my last week next week.
Yeah, it's for sure a labor of love. So I know we only have you two for a little bit today. I want to have this last question around motherhood, around how you are continuing to manage and how you make it possible, not only for yourselves, but if we think about the pandemic and what it has revealed, all of these little things we knew about women's lives, that we were still doing the burden of care, right? That overwhelmingly, the joy and burden of care, I'll say that with 2 little ones. What do you think? Where do you think the opportunity is, right? Asking women to run for the Statehouse, right? Which is usually January to May, which is a little bit sort of off season from our lives. How do you think more moms in public office would really change the nature of the legislation that's getting passed and that's needed right now? And what are you doing in this time to really stay sane with your kiddos?
I'm going to let Jessica start this because my kiddos are not home anymore.
As you saw the cameo in the beginning of our chat here, I have a 9-year-old, soon to be 10-year-old. And I do have to say, and not everyone has this, this experience, but, having a really important partner, right? Really engaged partner. And I could say that could be another family member, another loved one that's really there to help and support, because it really takes a village. And as someone that, again, has to be, 3 hours north for some period of that time. And I imagine next session we're going to be there, ours is January to June, our session. It really takes a lot of love and support from the people around you. But also having your child know what you're doing. I think my son's sort of old enough to really grasp what I'm doing. And let me tell you, he was my best, canvasser. He was out there bringing my palm cards to school. And, the principal was like, I love how excited he is for you, but can you ask him not to bring it to school? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't actually know he did that. So anyway, it's just been really important, depending on, the age of your child, that they really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and engage them, bring them as you knock on doors, bring them to community events, have them see, the kind of change that we're making for the community. And that's been the most meaningful thing. But it is really hard. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. Yeah. It does take, for me, a wonderful partner. But I know for so many that may not have a partner, it's the people around them that love and care for us that really help and support this process.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And Senator Torres, maybe talk a little bit about the policy impact you think having more moms in the Statehouse would achieve.
Absolutely imperative that we have mothers working in these policies. I think it's impossible to really bring that experience of being a mother, a working mother, to the legislature, to any place, without having that experience. I just, when you think about how men speak about us, women, and our experience. You see how, removed they are from the experience of being a mother. And I think we need to change that narrative. And in part is not just the legislature, but us creating a new narrative about, my kids are going to be here and they're going to make the noise.
That's right.
I am busy. My house is not perfect. These things are not perfect. And I can do all of these things. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. And that's just that. So it is policy. It is about, paid family leave and what we have to do in order to allow time for parents to take care of their kids.
That's right.
In order to allow time to take care of schoolwork and all of those things. And that's policy. But at the same time, I do think that we need to really begin to create a new narrative about what it means to be a parent who actually, wants to be with kids, who wants to be in a game with a kid. And so that meeting is going to have to be later at night, and that's okay. We're doing it. It's interesting that this pandemic really allowed us to do these things, so now we're not traveling. And I am having meetings at 8:30 p.m. because we have mothers who put their kids in bed, before then. And so we're caucusing at 8 p.m. Well, what can we do? I mean, that's what we have to do. So there's a lot of things that we have to change, and we have to demand that people, are going to have to accommodate to our families, to our kids. So I think it's incredibly important that not only talk about our responsibilities and this new narrative, but also our partners. They need to be taking care of our kids all the time, just like we do. Because it really does take, tremendous support from partners. I have the same experience. My husband actually left work in order to take care of our kids because it was so expensive. That's another thing that we need to fight for is childcare. So incredibly expensive that families just cannot afford, even when two parents are working. Jack was working at the university, and it was just like, my salary is all going to pay for the daycare of these two kids. I'm leaving the U and I'm staying with my kids. Well, we were able to afford it because I had benefits, and I was able to take care of my family. But that's not the case for most people. So, childcare is just really an imperative that we need to work as well.
Well, it is an honor. The country is better off with both of you in our state houses in New York and in Minnesota. And we want to make sure, you couldn't be better role models to say like, hey, let's do it. It's hard work, but it's fun. You both have big smiles on your faces. You're getting things done. You're bringing new voices into that chamber that have never been there before. And you're role models, not just for your district, but all across your state and all across America. And I want to thank you both for being with us today for the launch of Run 51. Thank you.
Thank you. Run lead 51%.
Yes, let's do it.
For that. Thank you so much.
Got it. And now we're going to hear from State Representative Park Cannon, who wasn't able to join us today, but is the third alumni that we're featuring. And so we have two short clips where she's going to bring her perspective, and you'll see her call a new group of women to come into public leadership and to run for the State House. So
what we all have to remember is that it's intersectionality that wins at the end of the day. Now is the time to run for office.
Hi, my name is Park Cannon. I'm a state representative here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am connected to Vote Run Lead because I am a young woman running for office. Here in the state of Georgia, women's representation is very low, under 23% when I decided to run for office. Now we're close to 32%. And that feels much better. But my question is, where are the young women? As a millennial, I know how important it is to remain connected to students, entrepreneurs, and young families, which is why I'm proud to continue working on legislation to address paid parental leave, to look at pregnancy accommodations, and to make sure that every person who has lost their job at no fault of their own due to COVID-19 can live in this thriving economy. I hope that you too will consider running for office and join Vote, Run, Lead on their Run 51.
Thank you, Park. I wish you could be here today. She's out doing the work. So many of you are probably asking us, why the Statehouse? Why this particular office? You know, Vote, Run, Lead has been around. We have been training women to run for everything from the city council to Congress. And you see our results. We could keep doing that, but we made a real choice. And I want to bring our Chief Program Officer, Paku Hang, on to talk to you about why the state legislature. What is it about the state assemblies across the country that is really critical for us to get more women in these particular bodies? Thanks, Paku.
Hey, Erin. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Like Erin said, my name is Paku Hang, and you all know that we are committed to unleashing the political power of women as candidates, as voters, as leaders, forging the democracy that we all deserve. And just like what Erin said, you might be wondering, why the state legislature? So there are 5 important reasons why we are focusing on the state legislature. And the first one is that the state legislature is where the fight is. Many of the democratic reform issues that we care deeply about, like ranked choice voting or fair redistricting, those fights are often being waged and won at the state legislature. So that's where the fight is, and that's where we need to be. Number 2, we are focusing on the state legislature because state legislatures and state legislative races are democratic laboratories, right? Given the size of legislative districts, given the size of campaign budgets, given the frequency of elections, a woman can decide to run for a state house. She can try different tactics, and if she loses, she can try again. Number 3, we are focusing on the state legislature because the structure of the state legislature debunks the myth that women are not electable. What do I mean by this, right? You all remember last year during the Democratic presidential primary, we kept hearing over and over and over again, oh, women are not electable, women candidates are not viable. But the state legislature, right, the very structure of it builds in very public, very visible leadership positions that women can occupy, and women can demonstrate publicly their amazing leadership skills and totally debunk the myth that women candidates are not viable. Number 4, we are focusing on the state legislature because women govern differently than men. Studies have shown over and over that women are more civil, they're more collaborative, they are more bipartisan. And that's exactly the type of leadership we need right now in this hyper-partisan, gridlocked prone political climate. Erin, you were saying before, we can't wait for these changes. And lastly, number 5, we are focusing on the state legislature because state legislatures have been incredible stepping stones for higher political office and executive positions. Now, in my hometown, we have 2 amazing leaders, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and both of them came from the Minnesota state legislature. In fact, 30% of the women who are currently serving in Congress previously held a state legislative position. So that's why we are taking it to the states. And I will close out by saying that, at Vote, Run, Lead, we envision a world, a country with women as majority of office holders at every level of government, forging the democracy that we all deserve. And it starts now. We've already made targeted investments in Minnesota, in Georgia, and New York to get the ball rolling so that we can, learn from those states, create a playbook, and scale it up for the rest of the country. And next, I want to introduce you to 2 amazing women who are going to be leading those charges in our Run 51 efforts. I want to introduce you all to Vote, Run, Lead State Director for Minnesota, Beth Peterson, and Vote, Run, Lead State Director for Georgia, Erica Pines. Both of these women have dedicated decades of their lives fighting for working families, for children, creating, the groundwork for a just and equitable democracy. So hello, Beth. Hello, Erica.
Hi.
Hello. Tell us a bit about what you guys are doing.
Great. Thank you, Paku. Good day, everyone. I'm Beth Peterson, the state director for Minnesota. I'm located in Northeast Minnesota on the edge of the wilderness. I'm super excited to be part of the Vote, Run, Lead team performing this transformative work of moving the state legislature to to majority-led women by 2024. As Minnesotans, we know a lot about breaking trails, and we have so many women doing just that each and every day. We just heard from one trailblazer, State Senator Patricia Torres. Thank you, Senator Torres, for setting the pace in the legislature and developing policies that work for working families. Minnesota is dear to Vote, Run, Lead. Approximately 41% of the women in the current state legislature and nearly 54% of the women of color legislators are our alumni. Unfortunately, while women make up more than 50% of the population in Minnesota, they account for only 36% of the state legislators. And for women of color, it's even worse. They make up 18% of the population, but hold only 6% of legislative seats. That means that we would need 3 times more the number of women of color we currently have at the Capitol to reach parity. Like Erin said, we can't wait. That's why I'm so excited to keep the tradition alive by engaging with incredible organizations like Black Women Rising, Unidos Minnesota, the Minnesota Farmers Union, the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and women like Seraphia Gravel, who's working to elevate the voices of people of color in rural Minnesota, or Marissa Cummings, who's building cultural connections for Native Americans living in the metro area, and countless other folks who are caring for our communities as teachers, nurses, grocery store workers, and other essential workers. These women show over and over again that they are the leaders we've been waiting for. They are ready to take their hard work to the state legislature, and Vote, Run, Lead has the tools to equip them to run and win. We've already begun securing training dates, building our trainer networks, and growing an incredible list of people who are interested in running next year. Through these resources and partnerships, we will build a surefire pathway to getting the reflective and inclusive democracy we all deserve. So please join us by going to voterunlead.org/run_51 and sign up. I want to see you in the state legislature. Thank you all for joining us today. Now let's hear from my counterpart in Georgia. Erica?
Thanks, Beth. Hello, Vote, Run, Lead community. I am Erica Pines, State Director for Georgia. I spend my time house hopping from inner city Atlanta to the mountains in Cherokee County. And I am so excited about Vote, Run, Lead shift to the Georgia legislature to be 50% plus one woman by 2024. I know we can do it. Sorry, y'all. In 2022, the Honorable Leah Ward Sears became the first woman and the youngest person to ever become a Georgia State Supreme Court Justice. When Shirley Franklin was sworn in as Atlanta's mayor in 2002, she was the first woman to ever hold that office. B. Wynn made history in 2017 when she was elected to the Georgia Statehouse as the very first Asian American woman. And Stacey Abrams made history in 2018 when she became the first ever African-American woman to be a majority party's gubernatorial candidate. In Georgia, women continue to break barriers and create historical moments. The work we're going to do in the next couple of years will be no different. Every day, I talk to candidates, partner organizations, and organizers who are committed to 3 things. 1, protecting voters' rights. 2, ensuring health equity. And 3, lifting up those we depend on most, our essential workforce. I can feel things shifting in Georgia. All eyes are on us. The moment is now. We can't wait for 60 years to achieve parity. In Georgia, we are hitting the ground running by hosting meet and greets across the state, especially in the rural communities, listening to what folks care about, partnering with organizations to train women to run for office, and giving them the tools, tips, and proven tactics they need to run and win. We are very excited about the launch of Run 51. We have so many opportunities for you to engage and connect. Please sign up for Run 51 now. We have 3 meet and greets scheduled to start in about 10 days. Again, I am Erica Pines, a Georgia Peach, and I am so excited about the opportunity to work with you.
Woohoo! Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Beth. You all, we have got your back. And with Erica and Beth as like that wind, you are going to get the tools to win. So we can't wait for you to come and join us on Run 51. And I'm going to turn it over now to Erin with some updates.
I'm so thrilled for this team. And soon, Erica, Beth, we're so psyched to have you on board. Vote Run Lead is growing. The investment that folks have made to make Run 51 possible is amazing. And you're going to meet the New York director in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. So what do folks get? I'm going to share my screen again so that folks can see what is this package of resources that you are going to get from VRL. So first and foremost, you got that research, right? That's really critical. Head over to the homepage, voterunlead.org, find your state, share that tool, use that as that foundation to say, we have got to make change. So we have a powerful video series of the women that you heard from. You're also going to see next our exclusive overview video of Run 51. You can share that as well. But we know that when you hear from women on the ground, when you're able to share their stories, that change and inspiration happens and people get motivated to be like Jessica, to be like Park, to be like Patricia. So there's a powerful video series over on our webpage. You'll see it under the Stories tab, where you can actually hear firsthand from them about what they are doing in their journey on the state legislature. We want you to share it, right? Then you're going to get the Run 51 ramp up. So I know some of you have already head over to the Vote Run Lead website. You've already signed up. Thank you for doing that. My team's let me know. That's great. We love that. You're going to get a 10-week toolkit of how to run specifically for the state legislature, how to get yourself together for running for this particular house, debunk some of those myths, to mystify what the legislature does, and to build your political capital over the next 10 weeks. You may decide it's a 2022 run for you. You may decide it's 2024. But this 10-week toolkit built by our team is going to make sure that you have all of the things checked off on your checklist. So you're going to be very prepared. And then we're offering personal coaching sessions to folks that have signed up. So this is huge. Like Uber is your personal driver, or Lyft, whatever one you like or don't like. This is your personal coach. Personal coaching, we're building it slowly so that we make sure we're doing it right. But you're going to tell us a little bit about you, and we're going to make sure that you're paired up with the right leader over the next couple of weeks and months. And we're going to grow it with you. We're going to, of course, kick off with our first coach is now State Senator Faith Winter, who many of you in our community know has never lost a race in going from the city council to the state house, and now she's a state senator. And of course, you are going to get amazing training from Paku, from her team, from the women that you just met, because training is what Vote Run Lead does. You're going to get it online, you're going to get it in person, all over the country on how to run for the state legislature, as well as all the other offices. Our other programs aren't going anywhere. We're getting bigger and bolder so that we can accelerate state houses, but we'll always have your back, whether you want to run for the city council or the dog catcher, which we know is elected in some places. So I'm going to show you our official video. As you know, with technology, folks, it may go slow, it may go fast, but here we go. What's happening in America right now is women are continuing to look at our democracy and see that the wrong people are in office, that the system wasn't built for us or by us. What we're interested in is solving the problems that affect our lives and our community.
Historically, women have always been motivated to run for public office because they saw problems in their communities and no one was fixing them.
If women were in charge, there are no limits on the possibilities. Run 51's vision is that all 50 states are run by women, with state assemblies, at least 51% women representation.
Run 51 is a surefire strategy to get us to female-led state legislatures in every state in America. It's a solution. It's a scalable plan. All right. We're going to try this another way, because you know that worked in the tech check. You know that worked in the tech check because I was here for the tech check. So I'm going to try it one more way from our Vimeo site. So hold on, because I really want you to see it. Okay. We get 51% women in our state houses in all 50 states.
And we think this is so important because we know that women govern differently than men. Women are more civil.
Okay, here we go. Round two. Boop, boop. Give me 1 minute to get this up for you all. I think this is going to do it. I think this is going to do it. I love you all for bearing with me. Okay. And I can't wait to
They're more bipartisan. They are more collaborative. Women also focus on public policies that really lift up the most vulnerable among us. So overall, we think women's leadership is better for our democracy.
The women we envision at Vote Run Lead getting into our state legislatures across the country are you, they're me, they're our friends, they're our moms. They're women who have a passion for making change, who are willing to fight the hard fight, and who are willing to continue to learn along the way. And at Vote Run Lead, we've helped elect exactly those women, those non-traditional candidates who don't look like a politician, the women who are really starting to create a new face of leadership in America. At Vote Run Lead, we'll give you the tools on how to fundraise, on how to make that great speech. What we can't give you is that fire in your belly. You have that. We know that if you run as you are, you're amazing, you're enough. Combined with the skills that we have for winning campaigns and for good governance, you're on your way.
The skill of running a campaign has become more and more difficult as we rely so heavily in social media and communication. So having access to an organization that understands women's perspectives, that values who we are, and that has the tools necessary to train us is very important.
I really wanted to run as I was, and today I still run as I am. So Vote Run Lead was really helpful in telling me it's okay to run as you are. In fact, their trainings helped me realize that organization is the key to winning a campaign.
My vision for a world run by women is one that's more compassionate, that leads with heart, that centers the folks who have been excluded and most marginalized from the political process, and that is led with love. And I think that's what women bring. And it's really about women of color as well, that making sure that they're centered in this work and that they're encouraged and supported, because women of color are often held to a different standard, and we really need to change that.
71% of the women of color trained by Vote Run Lead in 2020 won their races. We have yet to see the full leadership and power of women, but with Run 51, we're gonna get there.
All we need to do is organize. All we need to do is educate. All we need to do is invite, beg, scream, push, pull, and get them to run for elected office. Run 51.
I hope you are inspired. I hope you are inspired by that video. If it played for you slow, if it played for you fast, we appreciate it. It's on the website. You can head over there and help us by sharing and spreading the word. And I want to bring on our co-founder, our board member, our Georgia lead, who has been on the ground in Georgia doing the work across the South her whole life. And you saw in that beautiful video telling you to cajole and get folks to Run 51, Miss Rhonda Briggins.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today, and thank you for joining us. As Erin said, I'm Rhonda Briggins. I'm one of the co-founders and board members of Vote Run Lead. And over 2 decades, we've been working very diligently across this country to increase the pipeline of women running for elected office. And we have a wonderful team to support you during this new endeavor of Run 51. My soror and the great Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm said that if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And so this is an opportunity for each of us to bring a folding chair in these 3 states, in Georgia, Minnesota, and New York, to make sure that we're changing America. And that's what we have to do. So Run 51 is a surefire strategy to transform every state. So not just these 3 beginning states, but every state in this country. And so that we will have 51% women representation in all of these general assemblies. Can you imagine that? And right now, we make up about 31%. So we only need a little push to get us to 51. And so What does it take to win? You need to know your community. You need to know the numbers you need to win to organize. But more importantly, we're here to support you because we want you to run, girl, run as you are. We need you for education. We need you for healthcare, transportation. And as you all are seeing, there are voter suppression bills all across this country. So we need you to maintain and sustain our right to vote. And we're asking you to run. We need you for food access and justice because we need you to run, girl, run as you are. Women need to be asked to run, unlike men. So I am asking each of you, each and every one of you to run, girl, run as you are, so we can truly change and turn around these states' general assemblies to save all of us. And more importantly, to move this country forward. We need you. So if you're in Georgia, if you're in Minnesota, and if you're in New York, we're asking you to join us in this movement, join us in this fight, join us in this program. And we want you to get engaged in Run 51 because we want you to run, girl, run as you are. I'm Rhonda Briggins for Vote Run Lead, and we're asking you to join this movement and this fight. Come on, join us. We have everything you need to win. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being here today, and run, girl, run.
Love it, Rhonda. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paku. Thank you, Erica and Beth, who have come on today as our new team members, and to Senator Patricia Torres Ray, Assemblymember Gonzalez Rojas. We're so excited for this community. As you see, you are going to be supported. Everyone in all 50 states is going to be supported. Those lucky 3 states, listen, you know a funder, you know somebody who wants to make this happen. I can be in the next 3 states in a minute. We can be in the next, 40 plus states in about a month. There's nothing stopping us. So thank you for being a part of the Run 51 launch. Nominate one of your friends, sign up for yourself, share the video. You're going to get these resources all next week. You start to get that 10-week plan. It's beautiful, and it's going to put us on our way to a new future and a better democracy. Thank you.